Hello everyone, Nick the DM here, and today I continue my coverage on all things demon. Now, demons are chaotic creatures, so they have a reputation for being careless and unintelligent. However, if you saw my complete guide to demons video, you would know that isn't entirely true, and demons can be quite clever, which may make role-playing as a demon more difficult for dungeon masters. Fear not, for 3.5e's Fiendish Codex 1, Hordes of the Abyss, has a whole section detailing roles demons can take that anyone can incorporate into individual encounters or whole campaigns. So, let's take a look. As manifestations of chaos and evil, demons seem to easily fit into roles as creatures of mischief and malevolence. But demons can cause havoc in any number of ways, as a lone brute, a barely contained minion of a villain early on in an adventure, or a nearly unassailable foe at the culmination of a quest. Demons cover a wide range of roles, taking advantage of whatever opportunities present themselves, and using their intelligence and varied powers to succeed. Despite how they seem, running a fight or an adventure with demons isn't easy, if you wish to present them as the true threats or irritating nuisances they are. Remember just how much lore there is on demons beyond evil and chaos. The roles presented in Fiendish Codex 1, Hordes of the Abyss can help clarify the vision someone has for demons in a game or encounter. These roles are Assassin, Brute, Corruptor, Manipulator, and Overlord. These classifications can be used to shape possible fiendish encounters, but are not meant to limit them. The tactics presented demonstrate some ways demons performing different roles might approach encounters. Some are very combat-centric, describing in detail how different demons act during encounters, while other role descriptions focus on a demon's part in a whole adventure. Specific demons serve as examples to illustrate how many different demons can fit into a variety of roles. No demon encounter is ever cookie-cutter simple. The example demons are grouped as archetypical, interesting, and unlikely. Archetypical being those demons almost expected to take up those roles, the ones most well-suited for the jobs out of all demons. Interesting demons are the B team, in a manner of speaking. They aren't the ones best suited for the job, but their own abilities may be used uniquely to serve their role. And unlikely are the demons that would seldom ever adopt a role unless forced to, unsuitable for the job at best. The first role we are looking at is the Assassin. Pretty simple, the Assassin strikes at the heart. Spot enemy, dispatch enemy. That is the creed of a demonic assassin. Often employing stealth or trickery, an assassin wears chaos like a cloak, and uses evil cruelty as its shield. The role and term assassin doesn't mean a demonic assassin needs to be a rogue or assassin class, though some may have one or more levels in one of those classes. The term just encapsulates the strategy and tactics this type of demon uses. While all demons are killers, assassin demons take their love of death to new levels. To most demons, killing is something they do as a finale to destruction. Many draw out death, hoping to cause more pain and suffering along the way. But not the assassin. An assassin strikes with only death in mind. If that death can cause chaos and pain, all the better, but killing remains the primary concern. Most demons find killing for its own sake dull or boring. In contrast, the assassin gains little reward in lingering death and destruction, only in the quick kill, over and over again. More often than not, assassin demons find themselves working for non-demons and sometimes for even non-chaotic employers. Still, a demon with the single purpose of delivering death is still a demon, and that makes these fiendish assassins different from their mortal brethren. Where most assassins and hired killers work hard to use stealth and guile for the safe murder of a relatively defenseless opponent, the demon assassin prefers to adopt a more shock troop mentality, leading the attack head-on and striking immediately. One can use stealth to move into position or to make the assassination more effective, but the demon prefers to strike the killing blow in full view, enjoying the horror it sees on his victim's face and the helplessness of those nearby. Fortunately for other creatures everywhere, few demons have the discipline to fill the assassin role. Demonic traits and abilities make them frighteningly good at the mechanics of assassination, but their chaotic nature usually slows their progress along this line. Possible assassins. The archetypical assassins are the Babau, Blood Fiend, Kazme, Kelvezu, Glabrizu, Nabesu, and Yoklol. Interesting assassins are the Arrow Demon, Barlgura, Yovok, Merilith, Morezi, Quasit, and Succubus. And unlikely assassins include the Armonite, Garistro, Hezru, Main, Nalfeshni, and Sibriex. Assassin Combat Tactics. The assassin demon can come into play when a party, or one adventurer in particular, proves particularly difficult to control. The demon's master usually sends other troops to distract or occupy the targets while the assassin readies itself to eliminate a particular foe. The typical round-by-round strategy for such a demon is as follows. Round 0, the prep phase before the assault. The assassin uses strategic positioning to find a vantage point from which to view the target, often using any abilities that make it hard to perceive. Even the distraction troops probably don't know the assassin is coming to aid them, so the demon will stay hidden and approach from an unexpected direction. Round 1. The demon will then increase the chaotic nature of the battle, using spells or prearranged traps, not caring if their allies get injured or inconvenienced. The assassin doesn't care either way. As long as it finishes the job, its master will be pleased. Round 2. The assassin will soften up its target and any of the target's allies using ranged attacks, particularly those that don't draw attention to their position. Ideally, they try to direct attention away from themselves and towards other parts of combat, normally injuring healers and spellcasters that can react better at range to the assassin's upcoming assault. If the specific demon lacks ranged options, it uses this time to continue closing in. Round 3. Now is when the assassin strikes, using as many attacks or abilities as possible to cause as much damage as it can. This could accomplish the assassin's goal quickly if the demon went unnoticed and the target isn't heavily defended. However, it is most likely that the first and best assault will need to be followed up next round, which brings us to Round 4. Now the demon must assess the situation, examining the initial assault. Has the assassin been successful, or has it failed and is now alone with enemies surrounding it? If the first attack doesn't succeed, the demon may do something that few demons ever do this soon after engaging: retreat and regroup. Still, demons are among their element in chaos, so it may use powerful spells or spell-like abilities to help cause more confusion, but it will never stick around long enough that the demon would be forced to engage in combat with the whole party. It has one mission, and it has to fulfill it. Round 5 and beyond. The assassin is not a brawler. Even if it finds itself in combat with a live foe, it would not be discouraged and will fight smart. Depending on the condition of its target, the demon will now either follow its foe and deliver the finishing blow, or it will escape to a safe position. It's there for a job: kill its target and escape, or at least set itself up for future assaults. In a campaign, assassins are used when a powerful foe knows adventurers are coming and takes the initiative. These demons represent a serious investment by a villain. Since few demons have the temperament and capabilities to become assassins, a villain must have extraordinary resources to employ one of these foul creatures. Assassin demons don't work well with other demons because of their differences in chaotic philosophy. However, disciplined Overlord demons, we'll get to those later, do employ them, and a manipulator might occasionally work with an assassin. Corruptors view the assassin's tactics as wasted opportunity, while assassins compare the corruptor's methods to playing with your food. Brutes and assassins do not work well together. While brutes love to have extra firepower around, and assassins love the potential for distraction or flanking maneuvers and advantages, they dislike each other's way of fighting. Brutes think assassins are too cautious and deliberate, which they equate with cowardice, while assassins feel brutes are short-sighted grunts unable to recognize the chaos caused by a single murder. Unlike most other demons, assassin demons actually have some self-preservation instinct. Of course, they usually wish to stay alive and active so they can complete their contracts, but they also take pride in their unique role among demonkind. In the rare case one can capture an assassin, or even better, trick it into fleeing back to its master, they can learn more about their enemies. Demons seldom give anything away under interrogation, if someone can ever even capture a demon. But they can be tricked, and they have little loyalty to any master beyond the abyss itself. Fear and hate motivate demonkind. That can be used to a party's advantage. The next role is the Brute. A Brute's weapons of choice include physical strength and obvious displays of any kind of power. They begin any encounter with their most damaging attacks and enjoy wading into combat so they can feel the pain and fear of its enemies. All demons have some element of Brute inside them. Demons like expressions of overt power, and few shy away from direct combat when it is offered. However, brutes take demonic savagery a step farther than any other demon, often sacrificing safer, more assured victories for the visceral joy of slaying. Brute demons often find themselves in the service of others, either more powerful demons like a manipulator or an overlord when looking at roles specifically, or a powerful mortal summoner. Most summoned demons also default to the brute role, simply because that's what their temporary masters require. Despite their seeming simplicity, a brute's tactics or intelligence are not to be underestimated. After all, most demons are highly intelligent. And even a brute demon wouldn't give up its advantages in ability and intelligence simply to inflict more direct damage. Of course, some demons that fit nicely into the brute role won't have that intellect to fall back on, but that doesn't mean one should assume brutes are stupid. Yes, they are direct, if anything, but that doesn't necessarily mean foolish. While they may fight to the death, they generally do so only when caught up in the heat of battle. Possible brutes. The archetypical brutes are the Abyssal Eviscerator, the Armanite, the Barlgura, the Bebelith, the Bulezau, Garistro, Hezru, Rudderkin, and Vrock. Interesting brutes are the Glabrizu, Merilith, Morezi, Nalfeshni, Palrethi, and Zovut. And unlikely brutes are the Dybbuk, Gecubus, Lilitu, and Succubus. Brute combat tactics. In combat, the brute philosophy is, be direct, go all out, get your claws dirty. But for a more detailed breakdown, let's look at it round by round. Round 0. Before combat, a brute will use as many spell-like, supernatural, or other such abilities as possible to enhance itself. If the brute has a master or spellcasting ally, other spells will probably be applied to increase the brute's strength, physical resistance, or magical resistance. Round 1, called the Fire Salvo. The brute will use any area attacks or ranged attacks it has to hit as many foes as possible, mostly targeting the weak, lesser armored foes it isn't likely to fight in hand-to-hand combat. After this, on the same turn, it will move into a position where it can hit as many enemies as possible, even giving up optimal flanking positions. But, of course, brutes are still smart. Normally, a brute will position itself so it can reach spellcasters and other foes that flee from it with opportunity attacks. At the same time, it will try to threaten divine casters, clerics, and to a lesser extent paladins, understanding that their healing, smites, good aligned spells, and banishments can be detrimental, and all of that is done in round 1. Round 2. Now the brute will concentrate on attacking, using any actions to strike as much as possible, with any power strikes, stunning attacks, or other such weapons. These are focused foremost on divine casters, especially clerics. Round 3. Hopefully in this round the brute will finish off its first target, and if another nearby opponent is injured, it will try to finish them off as well. If no target can be dispatched in a single blow, the brute will take any attacks of opportunity to chase down a weaker target. Round 4. Now it's all or nothing. The brute will launch a second attack. Most demons have spell-like abilities or similar powers. If the fight's going well, a brute will call down whatever high-damage, area-affecting abilities it has, possibly dropping another enemy and further softening up the rest of them. Then they reposition to overwhelm those that look the most hurt. If the battle is going poorly, this would be the brute's time to retreat, using any escape abilities it has at its disposal. This doesn't mean the brute will completely abandon the fight if it can still inflict more damage. Often it will cut its way through enemies to the nearest escape point, or an ability like Thunderstep from 5th edition would be a good escape option that can damage a number of opponents. Round 5 and beyond. If the battle has gone on this long, it's time to pull out all the stops. Brutes will now use any limited once or twice per day abilities, combat maneuvers, or other ways to hurt their enemies. Generally, a brute likes to use physical attacks, but now it's time to finish the fight. If a brute hasn't taken out the toughest opponent yet, or hasn't turned its attention to that target, it's probably impatient, and most likely hasn't taken out its initial targets either, so it will go back to focusing on the healers and damaged targets. A brute will wait until the last possible moment until escaping the fight altogether, normally when it's at 10% health or lower. Again, options that both allow the brute to escape and damage enemies is preferred, but greater teleport is always a sound second option. In a campaign, a brute could be a single powerful enemy at the climax of a quest or session. More likely, however, they will be encountered at less critical times. Powerful villains often send brutes out to rampage, raid, cause havoc, and damage opponents. Usually the activities of a brute serve as a prelude to conflict. Brutes also serve as bodyguards for other fiends, usually demon manipulators and overlords, and are the antithesis of assassin and corruptors. One final note. When confronting a particularly intelligent or savage brute that is seemingly unconcerned for its own safety, suspect a summoner is responsible for the demon's presence. A summoned fiend has no fear, since it knows it will return to the abyss unharmed no matter what happens. In this case, a successful Dispel Magic or Greater Dispel Magic can end the encounter immediately. However, with a summoner in the picture, adventurers may face many, many more brutes before the end of the adventure. Now for the Corruptor Role. Power corrupts, and fiends, especially demons, enjoy corruption. The abyss reaches out through corruptor demons to twist mortals and the material plane into mirror images of itself. The corruptor does not revel in overt destruction, but in lasting decay. The corruptor subtly brings the abyss to the material plane. A corruptor employs temptation and lures creatures into its influence with offers of favors and service, but its chaotic evil nature keeps it from living up to all of its long-term bargains. While most demons are known for impulsiveness, corruptors, being ageless creatures as demons are, have learned to look at least a short time into the future, recognizing that a little patience now might pay off with more chaos later. These demons normally set up a base of operations somewhere on the material plane, finding or creating layers reminiscent of their home plane. As mentioned before, corruptors seek to corrupt more than just living creatures. They strive to change the material plane and all other planes into reflections or extensions of the abyss. These are likely the demons most often responsible for abyssal incursions, which we looked at in the Complete Guide to Demons video. A haunted castle, a bottomless well, a labyrinthine maze, or caverns hidden in a nearby hillside. Any of these places could be the lair of a demonic corruptor. Corruptor demons do venture out into the open, but they often use disguises and possession, referred to in Fiendish Codex 1 Hordes of the Abyss as the ultimate demon weapon, to collect souls and change the land to benefit their masters. No other demon serves the Abyss's goals so directly while using such a seemingly non-demonic strategy. Possible corruptors. Archetypical corruptors are the Glabrizu, Gecubus, Nabesu Juvenile, and Succubi. Interesting corruptors are the Chasme, Dybbuk, Lilitu, Merilith, and Nalfeshni, and unlikely corruptors are the Armonite, Babau, Ecolid, and Main. Corruptor combat tactics. Corruptors may face combat at the beginning or end of any of their relationships. They aren't devils, so they don't use wordplay or contractual tricks to trap their victims. They use force, the offer, the promise, the threat, and the application. Their goal in an interaction is generally to manipulate others into serving their cause, willingly or not. So they don't want to kill their enemy, maybe make them beg, but not kill. Single out your opponent. Corruptors set up layers on the material plane for several reasons, but none are more important than gaining the home field advantage. They use their knowledge of the dwelling they have prepared to lure in foes, separate them, and confront them separately. Minions, traps, and even simple terrain features make this remarkably easy. Once they've isolated an individual, then they can bargain, threaten, or simply converse. Plant the seed. There are a number of tactics a corruptor uses to begin the process of corrupting their new minion once they have them alone. Show off. The demon will make it obvious that anyone who attempts to fight or refuses their offers of help will face only frustration, terror, and death. Posturing in this manner could mean showing off abilities and resistances that mortals couldn't hope to emulate, or even killing unimportant victims in sight of the intended target to show that the demon means business. Terrify the target. A devil might appear in a pleasing form when tricking a mortal, and a few of the best corruptors, such as the succubi, can do this as well. However, demons are creatures of power. At some point during negotiations, a corruptor needs to put the fear of chaos into a victim's soul, making it clear that, while they may gain access to demonic powers and abilities, they should be terrified of crossing the demon. Corruptors will do this by demonstrating their abilities and using their considerable intellect to decide what frightens a target the most. Once the seed has been planted and the target primed and separated, next comes the negotiation. Corruptors know that the best way to lure someone into their service is to make them feel like they're getting something valuable in return. Here are a few ways the demon can do that. Provide immediate benefits. A few free samples can cement a demonic bargain, some of which can be good and some of which can be very, very bad. If the target seems like they can be tempted with promises of power, a demon may let them try out whatever they are offering for a limited time. If the target has an affinity for chaos, evil, and strength, this can solidify the bargain. Something as simple as watching a target as they test these abilities and taking them away just when they are enjoying themselves can have them yearning for more. Otherwise, some negative reinforcement could be just as effective. The Corruptor may provide a demonstration of how they themselves use the powers they offer to destroy innocents, perhaps one or two of the individual's friends. They can also offer something the victim wants. This can be easy if the Corruptor is bargaining to spare the mortal's life, but some demons can have trouble determining exactly what mortals will trade for their souls and service. They aren't devils after all. Before the negotiation, a Corruptor will have a few things ready by default. If they wish to offer their services, the demon will show the mortal an easy way to summon or call them specifically. Of course, the rules may change later, perhaps a human sacrifice or other suitably evil act could be required as the relationship solidifies. The demon may have a few magic items on hand as well, and if they happen to contain demonic curses or evil spirits, well, that's even better. When used in a campaign, Corruptors don't simply show up at someone's doorstep offering the planes on a silver platter. A demonic Corruptor plans ahead, often observing a target for weeks or months before springing its trap. Sometimes Corruptors work together, pursuing multiple targets, perhaps ones that are close friends. If they can tempt more than one person at the same time, especially if this eventually puts the mortals at cross purposes, this makes the ensuing chaos even sweeter. In addition, Corruptors frequently rely on powers not commonly used by other demons, such as possession. In fact, while some adventurers may find themselves the direct target of a Corruptor, it's more likely they will find themselves on a quest to prevent a Corruptor from taking over another individual or even a whole community or region. Possession is a powerful tool for Corruptors. Unlike other demons, they commonly begin an encounter by offering to possess a weakened, desperate, or power-hungry individual. By offering to become a known rider or mutterer, which I covered thoroughly in the demonic possession video, the demon gives the mortal some of its power in exchange for a very subtle link to the material plane. The Corruptor undoubtedly plans on eventually establishing more control over the possessed mortal, but it rarely tells its victim that up front. Object possession also makes for an excellent Corruptor tool. A Corruptor could possess an innocuous object, or even a dangerous one, and observe intended victims while they remain unaware of its presence. Some fiendishly clever Corruptors have been known to possess magic items, possibly pretending to be intelligent swords or rings, and gullible adventurers often accept them at face value. The penultimate role we are looking at is the Manipulator. Always looking for an opportunity, the Manipulator uses sweet words and gifts when claws and fangs won't work. The power behind the throne, the figure behind the curtain, the whisper in the dark. The Manipulator enjoys being second in command until it can take unquestioned control. A good comparison to this would potentially be Jafar from Disney's Aladdin, though I imagine some of you already made that connection. Few demons make good manipulators. Chaos doesn't really inspire careful planning and patience. Those that do follow this path, however, follow it well. Manipulator demons often swallow their pride in deference to their schemes, often disguising themselves, either physically or simply in motive, and letting others think they run the show. While no demon likes to hide its power, a manipulator often tries, allowing other demons or mere mortals to order it around and even abuse it while awaiting its chance to strike. The Manipulator supplies power, support, and advice, allowing its quote-unquote allies to take the risk. Only when the time is right does the Manipulator demon jump in, often steering the action in a frighteningly different direction than its unknowing supporters could have anticipated. That said, Manipulator demons are still demons. things. They do not have extreme levels of patience and subtlety. Similar to the Corruptors, Manipulators are among the most intelligent and most patient of the chaotic evil crowd, but this only goes so far. Demons like immediate gratification, and many planners have abandoned their schemes for the immediate offer of blood and souls. As a result, most manipulators put themselves in situations where they can directly participate in the chaos and destruction of their schemes, but they take lesser roles, hoping to disguise their true nature or powers until the end. Possible manipulators. Some archetypical manipulators are the Dybbuk, Lilitu, Nabesu Juvenile, and Succubi. Interesting manipulators are the Babau, Kasme, Glabrezu, Main, Merilith, and Rudderkin. And unlikely manipulators are the Abyssal Eviscerator, Baelor, and Bulezau. Manipulator combat tactics. Manipulator demons avoid being the central figures in combat. They will participate and act as necessary, but try to remain in the background. If possible, a manipulator will appear to be on more than one side, so no matter which side wins, the demon ends up with them. Since encounters with manipulator demons aren't best expressed in combat terms, here are some general pieces of advice a manipulator demon would use when involved in a fight. Appear marginally competent. A manipulator wants to be dismissed as a non-combatant by friend and foe alike. At the same time, it doesn't want to appear useless. No one wants an ally that can't defend itself. But if it appears non-threatening, it can slip away or toward the protection of the winning side at the appropriate time. Don't appear eager. It is difficult for demons to shy away from the chaotic nature of combat. Most demons lose control when they see a battlefield. However, a manipulator has to avoid battlefield heroics, appearing to be an unwilling participant. Let others fight for them. A manipulator will coax, taunt, or advise allies to defend it and its interests. Whenever possible, the demon will work to keep both sides guessing about where its true loyalties lie. This could be dangerous after the fact, but if things work out, the demon could defeat its enemies and weaken its rivals. If a situation threatens to spiral out of control, the demon can show off a bit of its true power to weaker allies, either further encouraging and deceiving them or intimidating them. If all else fails, sneak attack. If the demon feels things are not going well, or it's finally time to bring its long plan to fruition, it will spring its trap. The manipulator will do everything it can to convince its most dangerous enemy that it's either harmless, not a foe, or just wants to be left alone. Then betray them with the most devastating attack it can. This won't be the actual sneak attack of a rogue, but the element of surprise is what counts. The manipulator won't be foolish enough to rely solely on its natural attacks to do the job. Instead, it will set up a situation where it can, for example, attack their foe, push said enemy off a ledge, and drop a 16-ton weight on their head. And the demon will make that foe think that it is on their side right up until that very moment. Have a handy escape route. And in the end, a manipulator will need to get out of combat faster than it got into it. Even if this damages its reputation with its so-called allies, it's more important for the manipulator to escape and deceive another day. This often means using more resources to escape than to fight their way out. For this reason, teleport is always a manipulator demon's best friend. Manipulators in campaigns. One of the most entertaining demonic roles to add to a campaign, the manipulator can be friend, foe, ally, and enemy all at once. A talented manipulator demon uses magic and mundane abilities to deceive and maneuver heroes and villains alike, setting up a series of events designed to serve its interests and, since it is a demon, hurt others as much as possible. Manipulator demons like working with others and often take on several roles in an adventure, disguising themselves as appropriate. Whenever possible, the demon sets itself up as both best friend and worst enemy to the characters, using its role as confidant to either side to betray both eventually. Our final and arguably the biggest demon role is the Overlord. An Overlord occupies and controls. It commands troops, summons reinforcements, and dispatches foes with skill and finesse. The Overlord demon masters its impulses for direct chaos and destruction, recognizing that it can more effectively sow dissension, distrust, entropy, and evil by bending others to its will. A demon makes a capricious and unstable Overlord. Its love of chaos and absolute commitment to evil make it difficult for a demon to produce any sort of loyalty. However, by offering vast rewards and mostly following up on those promises, Overlords attract mortals and other creatures that normally refuse to serve such dangerous leaders. Yes, a demon may sacrifice its minions for amusement or in the execution of some bizarre, nonsensical plan, but a servant that seeks its Overlord's favor can gain vast, disproportionate rewards as well. Like the Corruptors, Overlords enjoy staking out territory, imitating demon princes in their need to dominate locations, as well as servants. When a demon takes over a place on the material plane, it could become an Overlord, attracting followers and shaping its new home into an image of the abyss. So, often a leader of a demonic incursion, again mentioned in the larger Complete Guide to Demons video, would be an Overlord. Possible Overlords. The ultimate demon Overlord has always been the Balor. But adventurers are more likely to encounter a number of Hezru demons acting as abyssal sergeants before they ever confront one of those nightmarish beings. A Hezru knows how to organize underlings. On the material plane, it often uses its above-average intelligence and impressive size to recruit less intelligent mortal followers, such as hill giants, trolls, and ogres. Archetypical Overlords include the Balor, Hezru, Clurikir, Merilith, Molideus, Sibriex, and Yoklol. Interesting Overlords are the Ecolid, Glabrezu, Lilitu, Nabesu Mature, Nalfeshni, and Succubus. Unlikely Overlords are the Dretch, the Babau, Yovok, Main, Rudderkin, and Zovat. Overlord Combat Tactics. Overlords plan ahead, take tactical advantage, and spend their allies and servants like resources. Cleverly, yes, but with no remorse. They will always lead by example, but remain free to escape if need be. Overlords will disrupt their opponents and finish off the weak. Overlords see battles as giant chess matches, matches where they can flip over the board and ruin their opponent's game at any time. With that in mind, let us look at the round-by-round tactics of such a creature. Round 0. Assemble minions. Of course, the first thing an Overlord must have is minions, which it surrounds itself with, calling guards, bringing in corrupt servants, and using any abilities to summon more creatures to its side. And, as an Overlord does, it will direct these minions. Even if the minions do not do much damage, they can be used to distract enemies from more powerful threats and guide them into traps. Using spells or tactical choices, the Overlord will position itself where it can see the battlefield and where it is difficult for the opponent to engage it immediately. Round 1. Acquire targets. Unlike other generals, an Overlord demon wants to engage in battle, and at this point it is already eager to join the fight. But it must resist a while longer. First, an Overlord will direct their troops, assess the threat, and use either a long-range offensive spell or a defensive spell to muddle the fight for its enemies. Without exception, an Overlord will want to single out its counterpart in the rival forces, the enemy leader, so it can destroy or overwhelm them when the Overlord joins the battle. It is even better if an Overlord can simultaneously divert the enemy leader's attention away from itself. Round 2. Outmaneuver foes. With its minions harassing the enemy leader and mobile forces, the Overlord's focus shifts to controlling the battlefield and countering its foes' strengths. To ensure it fights on a field of its own choosing, the Overlord will now spring any traps or summon any hidden forces it had in reserve, using these surprises to cut off the enemies and restrict their movement, causing them to fight less effectively ideally. And remember, most demons are dangerously intelligent, sometimes to a supernatural degree. By this point, an Overlord has almost certainly identified the roles of the different enemies or party members and can focus on countering their special skills, interrupting spellcasters or breaking their concentration, preventing rogues from sneaking past forces or preventing them from sneak attacking if capable, and stopping monks from maneuvering around the battlefield, for example. And, of course, an Overlord need not do this all itself. It has minions. Round 3. Chaos takes over. Now the Overlord has been patient long enough and takes a more active role in combat. If the Overlord's forces are losing, it wades in to even the odds. If they're winning, to join the slaughter. But an Overlord must remember, it is a general first, and a warrior second. The demon will look for an opponent that seems to be giving its troops difficulty or one on the edge of combat, and engage with them. The Overlord will direct its troops into positions where they can shield it from the rest of its enemies, and of course, an Overlord enjoys gloating and intimidating its opponents, and will use the shock value of its appearance in combat to the best effect. Sometimes, the sudden evisceration of an enemy can also announce an Overlord's presence. Round 4. Killing Stroke. Now, with its sights set on its chosen target, the Overlord uses its favorable position to eliminate the enemy, positioning its minions to block or absorb rescue attempts by remaining foes. In this round, an Overlord works in similar ways to a brute, though it's not just employing this tactic for maximum cruelty, but to set up a victory for itself and its minions. If an Overlord captures or destroys an enemy this round, it may withdraw, even if it has the advantage. Either way, its minions will continue swarming the remaining foes to keep them busy. Round 5 and beyond. Assess and act. Overlord battles often last 5 or more rounds, simply because they fight more deliberately than most other kinds of demons, not to mention the additional forces that always accompany an Overlord. Again, if the Overlord has killed or captured a foe, it may use the later rounds to escape, using any abilities to take prisoners or even just corpses with them. An Overlord knows the benefit of escaping while the opportunity presents itself. However, if one finds itself in a situation where it can't, or simply won't retreat, it must figure out ways to gain reinforcements. If this is the demon's last stand, it will want as many minions around as possible. Even if they can't bring forth strong minions, it will try to clog up the battlefield with fodder. In following rounds, the Overlord will use every method at its disposal to destroy the enemy leader, or their perceived leader. This is when an Overlord really starts fighting like a brute, possibly taking risks even a brute wouldn't find worthwhile. An Overlord will fight to the death if doing so seems preferable to losing. Overlords in campaigns. Usually, Overlords play the role of boss during an adventure. Even if the Overlord is not the ultimate villain, it is at least a local general causing chaos and destruction. Overlords can also be sergeants or lieutenants of evil, using their tactics and their strategic knowledge to serve greater powers. Overlords serve other demons or mortals only slightly less than brutes. The best overlords appear multiple times over the course of an adventure, using stronger and stronger minions to harass and test the adventurers, mocking them and taunting them at every occasion. These demons stand between the adventurers and their goal, and unlike many foes, they usually know what the party is after. Overlords encountered in the beginning of an adventure often fast-forward through the sample round-by-round tactics that I mentioned, skipping to the vengeful escape and leaving with less frustration at first, but with growing rancor as the adventurers continue to overcome its forces. Overlords almost always have their own sanctums, usually constructed in the image of their home plane, chaotic and dangerous. Uneven terrain, dangerous pools of lava, and stinking gases mark their lairs. Demon overlords love living on the material plane because they can cause all kinds of havoc using their minions, their powers, and their connection to the abyss. Overlords work well with brutes and often command assassins, but they dislike the complicated plots of manipulators and corruptors. An overlord working for a manipulator probably harbors resentment over this philosophical disparity, an emotion which clever characters might be able to exploit. Overlords often follow other overlords, but like demons, and really fiends in general everywhere, they gladly look for opportunities to advance their own power. Now, demons don't necessarily have to fit into any of these roles. If you read into the lore of a specific demon, it can often give you insight into how they plot, maneuver, and fight, in combat or out of combat, and they may have a different style than these options. But these roles are detailed yet easy to follow outlines for a majority of demons, and can be quite useful. Anyways, that is all I have for demon roles. Not something I expected when I first began my demon research, but it was a welcome surprise nonetheless. If you've enjoyed, please consider leaving a like and even subscribing for more videos like this, not just demons, I have other things planned, but there will be a good number more demon videos in the near future. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!